Hi. Dungeons & Dragons should be scripted. Jesus, calm down, hear me out. I've been chatting to some DM friends recently, and a problem I keep hearing them come up against is inactive players. Players that wait for the DM to feed them the next line or the next story beat, which makes sense, it is the general structure of the game. But the thing is, campaigns don't live or die on the DM's prep or storytelling. They live or die on the table's storytelling. Think of it this way. If your campaign was a TV show or a movie, then the DM's the director, right? But we can't all just be a bunch of improv actors. We need to be writers in the writer's room as well. We need to be throwing ideas around and contributing fuel to the story. The risk of not doing this is DM burnout or player attention drop-off, both of which kill campaigns dead. When I say script your games, I do not mean pre-written scenes and dialogue. What are we, Critical Role? Right, Jesus, I'm joking! I'm talking about two forms of very easy preparation that you can do in between games, during games, that will give you more ownership of the story, keep everyone invested, give your DM a break, and basically, hopefully, try to keep your games lasting longer. So, introducing my backwards-forwards methodology, TM. Just kidding, you can steal this by all means. So let's start with the easy one. This is your backwards planning. You can do this anytime without having any idea what's coming up next in the story. By the time you reach the table in session 1, your back's... Okay. By the time you reach the table in session 1, your character's backstory has already happened, and your DM will obviously make sure they've got all the information necessary from you in terms of your bonds, your motivations, your organizations, whatever it is they need to start writing your character into the plot. What you can continue to build out, game on game, is the little details. It is the small memory fragments, the things that have no bearing on the overall story, but help your character to feel like a real lived-in person. Remember, you only spend a few hours a week in your character's head, but your character has lived a full life and lived with themselves 100% of the time. So a little bit extra effort is needed to make these characters feel a bit more human, or whatever race you may be. Sorry. You can start doing this with a really loose list of facts about your character that you can drop naturally. For example, a childhood superstition, or a proverb from their hometown, maybe a skill someone taught them, a pet they once had, a scar they have on them, an irrational fear. Now you can do this as you go, you don't have to preload your character with all of this information, but if you do want a resource to get a lot of this done very quickly, I do highly recommend Ginny D's videos about questions to ask your D&D character, which I personally have used and have found really helpful as a starting point. Spending time thinking about memory fragments warms up your improv muscles and makes sure that the next time you have an opportunity to improvise, you can pull on something you've already thought about. It won't be as difficult to start or add to a conversation. A really great example of this recently occurred in Critical Role's Campaign 4, where Laura Bailey's character recalled why she'd given a nickname to her friend.
I had trouble learning how to write his name. Every time I'd try to make the J, I'd have to back up. It was too much trouble. So I started calling him Thaz.
Laura revealed in the cooldown of that episode that she had already been thinking about why she'd given him that nickname in between games. So when she was asked to pull on a memory during that episode, she had it absolutely locked and loaded. As a result, the scene felt natural, realistic, and impactful. Tiny bit of forethought, beautiful in-game moment. You see what I'm getting at? You also don't need to do this one alone. If you started the campaign with a pre-existing relationship with another character or multiple other characters, then spend some time asking each other questions that you think your characters would have asked each other or conversations they would have had pre-game. I did this with a fellow player of mine recently, and it led to me not only finding out some fun facts about my own character by being prompted to answer some questions, but also I had enough information about that player's character so that I could realistically roleplay the fact that they'd been traveling together for a few weeks. It meant that we went into that campaign with a more realistic dynamic. Keep building this list of fragments as you go, and you'll find that your character is not just more alive, but that it's way easier for you to slip into their headspace, pull on memories, and basically give reason to all of your interactions and actions. You can add flavor to any conversation, be it with an NPC, a PC, whoever it may be. If you do want more active ways you can have a think about your character's backstory or your character's personality in between games, then I highly recommend my previous video on this, where I talk about ways you can play D&D in between games that really help to flesh out your character. We've talked a little bit here about how you can involve other players in this prep, which takes us very nicely onto our second part, because would you believe it? Despite many people's playstyle, D&D is a team game. I'm looking at you, tiefling warlocks and rogues, and God forbid you're a multiclass. I know being a lone wolf is so sexy, but you know what's sexier? Teamwork. So, next up is your forwards planning. This is the other end of the spectrum. This is planning for moments that haven't happened yet. This is basically that writer's room prep we were talking about. But how can you do that when you don't know what's coming up in the story? Well, one thing you can count on in D&D is player-on-player conversations. These are the rare moments where your DM takes a backseat, a well-deserved rest, and you are able to take the reins on the storytelling. When I've been talking to my DM friends about what they're struggling with different parties, it tends to be this. Not taking the opportunity to engage with each other without the DM prompting you to is the real bugbear that I see coming up a lot. But raw dogging a conversation without any DM exposition is scary, and we can't all be Brennan Lee Mulligan. So a little bit of prep in this area can really help to ensure that you make the most of these moments. During games, I want you to take notes, not just of your to-do list, your quest to-do list, like fetch this thing or research this thing or talk to this NPC. You also need to be keeping a narrative to-do list. If you're not sure where to start, it can really help to plot your character and other characters out on a bit of a spider chart. Here's one I made earlier. On the spider chart, note down anything that comes to mind. Does your character have questions about another character? Do they have something in common? Is there something they disagree on? Or have they noticed something about them recently? Anything that could be a potential Kickstarter for an interaction or a conversation. This method not only then gives you an immediate narrative to-do list of conversations you want to have or actions you want to take with other players, but it also helps you to identify which dynamics need a little bit of love. So try and do this for everyone at the table and try to balance the interactions that will help to reveal more about your character with interactions that give your fellow players opportunities to reveal more about theirs. Create scenes that benefit all of you. And if everyone does this, then everybody gets ample chances to shine. You're not scripting dialogue because you don't know if this conversation will come up or how it will go, but you are scripting the scenes that you are interested to explore when you get the next opportunity during watch time or during travel, whatever it may be. You will always have a meaningful line of conversation at the ready. What if that moment never happens? Fine. Table it. Redevelop that line of conversation or that action into something else. Let it ferment. You'll find that if you give things time to come up naturally, they tend to gather more meaning as the campaign goes on. And what if the other player character reacts differently than I expected? That's Dungeons and Dragons, I fear. You can plan the input, but you can't plan the output, and that is the magic of the game. This methodology is not meant to take away from the beauty of improv. It's meant to give you stronger foundations in which to do that improv. You can't plan everything, and if you could, it would be a super boring game. That's it. That's the methodology. Plan backwards, plan forwards. But when you do these two really simple things, they come together into intentional, relevant conversations or interactions that then feel so human and realistic because you've just given it a little bit of forethought. And obviously share as much of this with your DM as you like, but I've tried not to mention them too much because the whole point of this methodology is to put some of the onus back on the players. From what I have heard from DM friends, they love it most when players just engage. It's as simple as that. It doesn't need to be complex. All it is showing your DM that you've had a think and that you care about the story they're trying to tell, and also that you care about the story that the other players are trying to tell as well. Thank you so much for watching. I know this is a bit of a simple concept, but I find that sometimes simple concepts can really be the biggest ones to chew on and can really help to add the most depth to games. So I hope this was helpful. And if you have ways that you like to prep and script or moments that you've created from a little bit of forethought, that would be really, really cool to hear about. Please drop it in the comments below. While we're at the end of the video, thank you so much to everyone who engaged with my previous video on D&D. It was my first video on D&D and the reception was overwhelming, and reading everybody's comments and responding to everyone's comments warmed the cockles of my cold, dead heart because I love this game so much. And I just really want to create content that gets people thinking and helps people to communicate with each other. So thank you, thank you, thank you. And I have a lot more that I want to talk about. But if you have anything you would love to see me give a take on or kind of discuss a bit further, please leave comments. I want to create content that is helpful for you. Okay, that's it. Bye.